Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa and I'm the owner of seasonandserveblog.com. So we are back, it is January, and I hope you had a really nice holiday season and that you're all relaxed and refreshed for the new year. We're all back to reality now, and in mid-January, I really start to think about the summer and the garden, especially with all the cold weather. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is the garden and our garden plans for 2024. And I'm very excited because this is going to be our first full season of gardening in our new home, so I can't wait to share our plans with you. Even though we are in a smaller space, we're not in a big single detached family home now, we're just in a townhouse, but there is a lot of garden space, and we're not doing not one, not two, but 3 garden spaces in our townhouse. You probably think I'm crazy, but if you know anything about me and my love for gardening, it is just like the greatest thing in the world to be able to grow your own fruits and vegetables and herbs at home, as well as flowers and other things. So I love the garden, and yeah, we have 3 really big spaces planned. So if you want to hear about those, just keep on watching. All right, so first up, I'm going to talk about our kitchen garden, which is in our backyard. And this is going to be the garden where we mainly grow all of our fruits and vegetables and herbs. While this garden space is small, it is really close to the kitchen, which I really like as a recipe developer and someone who just generally likes to cook. So if I need any ingredients, I can go outside, grab some tomatoes, some vegetables, some herbs, take 10 steps back to the house, and I'm in the kitchen, and it's just great, easy access. And in those blazing hot summer days, it's kind of nice not being outside or having to journey all the way outside to get to your garden and then all the way back. So I'm very happy for just the proximity of this garden to the kitchen. Now, this backyard is a lot smaller than what we had in our old home, where we had multiple raised garden beds where we could grow anything and everything. It was basically like a small farm, which was crazy. But I am very appreciative of the smaller space because it's going to be a little bit less costly to be able to grow food from seed. Additionally, it's going to be lower cost for maintenance, watering, materials, all of that. I'm also appreciative because it's going to teach me how to grow more food in a smaller space. And I think vertical gardening is going to be my best friend. So as I experience that this year and improve my knowledge, I'll be able to eventually share that here with you on YouTube, as well as on my Instagram and my TikTok. Before I tell you a bit about the plans, I'm going to show you what the backyard looks like. So as you can see, it is much smaller than before, but I think with the plans that I have, it is going to turn out really nice. So I made this little rendering here on Canva to show you what the garden is currently looking like, minus all of our clutter from our plant pots and all the other stuff we have in the garden that we haven't organized yet. But this is what the kitchen garden is going to look like with our redesign. So as you can see, most notably, we have 2 L-shaped garden beds. We're going to be building some raised garden beds out of cedar boards. We know how to do this because of our experience in our old house. We built all of our raised garden beds ourselves, and that was a fun process, I should say. It was a good workout, and moving all that dirt was an extreme workout. So yeah, we're going to get a bit of exercise this spring, but they're not going to be as elaborate as our old raised garden beds that we built. So we're still going to be building them out of cedar boards. Cedar is basically the only wood material that you can keep outdoors in the Lower Mainland in British Columbia, just because of the amount of rain we get. If we use anything like pine or maple or oak, anything like that, it would be gone pretty much in 2 to 3 years, whereas cedar can last up to 10 years, which is ideal for a garden. And in terms of the depth of the garden beds, we are only going to build them about 11 to 12 inches deep. In our old house, we actually stacked 2 boards on top of each other, so it was about 2 feet or 24 inches in height, and that required just so much dirt to fill it. It was kind of crazy. And I found even when I would go pull plants out at the end of the season in the fall, a lot of the plant roots wouldn't really go past the first foot of soil. So I figure in this garden space, we can keep the beds lower, still be raised out of just the main earth in the ground, but this 11 to 12 foot height should be very sufficient for plants. So that's a little bit of a modification there. And then we're going to be building it from scratch. So we're going to get the cedar boards ourselves. We're going to cut them to the right size and dimensions for our space. And this is really nice because you can customize it. You can ensure the beds aren't too wide, which is a modification that I'm also making, keeping the width of the garden beds a little bit smaller. So in our previous home, we built the garden beds to be 4 feet wide, but in this space, we're doing them only 3 feet wide, mainly for not only space, but also just for access to plants in the raised garden beds. The 4-foot width was nice, but you can only kind of have this if you're able to access it from more than one side. And in this garden space, I'm not going to be able to do that. So keeping it at a smaller 3-foot width, I'll actually be able to reach in and harvest plants, maintain plants really easily, and I won't be like trying to reach in to grab stuff or be stepping on plants in order to access ones further back. So keeping a little bit narrower is going to be great for the space and just for the ease of maintenance. So as you can see, there's 2 L-shaped beds and they are symmetrical. I love symmetry in gardens. It just makes me feel so peaceful and it makes everything feel so organized. I love it. So we're going to keep that in a symmetrical pattern. And additionally, in the middle, you'll see this beautiful feature of a trellis. I'm going to see if I can actually find the exact same trellis that we had in our old garden. It was a great height and it is just perfect for vertical gardening. I grew so many things on this trellis in our previous home. So peas in the spring, squash all the way through summer to autumn. It was beautiful. And I even loved it decorated with Christmas lights in the winter. Oh my gosh, it was so cute. So I'm going to see if we can do that again. And this will be really important for the vertical gardening aspect. Being able to grow plants up this trellis will be really nice and also a space saver. So there are just a few things we have to make sure we maintain that I've accounted for in this plan. The first thing is a pathway along the back of our property. This is because we have landscaping people coming into the yards to maintain the landscape as part of our townhouse complex and our strata. So we have to make sure that there's a path in there for them to be able to get through with their lawnmowers and cutters and all that and be able to access other people's yards. So as you can see, there's a couple gates here and I've kept a nice clear path for people to get in and out of. Other than that, with the plan, we're keeping everything pretty much where they are. So the patio is obviously staying where it is. We're just going to be removing the 2 patio chairs that we have. These patio chairs are huge. This patio set in itself is pretty big. So we're going to actually move that to another garden space that we have planned. So I'll tell you about that in a bit. But we're going to take those chairs out. We're going to keep the sofa and the fire pit. And to the right side, you can see we have some raised bed planters. These are just from Costco. They're about like hip height, and it's nice to be able to grow stuff in there. I actually brought that from our home in Victoria. I took it with us. So yeah, I'm going to keep those there. And then on the opposite side, you can see there's a barbecue area. We have a little hose hookup and a fern currently in the ground there. So I want to keep that. We also have a hedge of cedars along the back of our property. If you notice in the video, there are a couple dead ones. So we're going to have strata remove and replace those. So we won't have to look at dead plants anymore. It's going to be so nice just to have like a solid wall of green. So those are the plans for the kitchen garden. I'm very excited to see this come to life and like have this big transformation again. I think it is going to be super nice and I just cannot wait to grow all these amazing fruits and vegetables and herbs in our kitchen garden. So stay tuned for next week. I'm going to be posting another garden video here on this channel talking about all the different seeds I'm starting and what I'm going to be actually growing in each of these garden spaces, including our kitchen garden. So if you want to know about all the different seeds I'm starting and the varieties, make sure you hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for that. So next up is our front yard, and I'm going to be turning this into a cut flower garden. If you remember in our previous home, we had a really long, it was probably like 15 feet long of a cut flower garden, and I grew a bunch of dahlias in there. Dahlias are my favorite flowers, so I had at least like 15 different varieties of dahlias, but I absolutely loved it. And I knew I wanted to have a space for a cut flower garden because I enjoy growing my own flowers. I enjoy arranging them into the bouquets throughout the year. So I wanted to ensure we had a space for that. And while I will still be planting some flowers in our kitchen garden just to attract more pollinators and insects to the area, I wanted a specific spot just for flowers. Now, our front yard isn't very big at all. We have a fence with a boxwood hedge along the front, and then there is this random shrub. I don't know exactly what it is yet. I haven't identified it properly, but that's taking up some lawn space. And in the middle, we have this little lawn space. It is not very big. It's probably like 5 feet by 4 feet. So it is small, but again, enough space to be able to grow a couple of cut flowers. So in this space, we're not looking to do any sort of renovations, no raised garden beds, nothing crazy like that. I will be making a little pathway, probably just with some mulch that we have, just as a little pathway leading into the garden, and it'll be kind of like a keyhole style. So you'll be able to walk in and then you'll be surrounded by all the different plants. And I think this is a really good design, especially for watering and maintaining the plants, but also for harvesting the plants as well. I don't want to be kind of reaching in past things to try to grab them or maintain them and harvest them. So I think the keyhole design is really nice. So with the cut flowers, we're just going to be planting them directly in the ground. So again, nothing crazy. We'll just put them in the ground with a bit of compost and water them until they grow. So I think that'll be a super easy project. Now, in terms of the flowers that I'm going to be growing in our cut flower garden, I'm obviously going to do dahlias. I have a few dahlia plants that I'm going to grow again. I've saved the tubers and everything, so those are going to go in the front. And I'm also going to add a hydrangea to the garden. I think hydrangeas are probably one of the most beautiful plants, especially in the summertime and throughout the fall too. They age beautifully. So I'm going to make space for that. And I ordered a very specific type of hydrangea that I almost forgot about. I almost forgot that I ordered this, but I found my dream hydrangea and ordered it last summer. So it should be coming in the next few months. And I'll tell you next week about the hydrangea and all of its qualities and stuff like that, as well as all the varieties of dahlias that I'm going to be growing. But I'm very excited for that. Adding the hydrangea, I think, gives the garden a little bit of more a natural cottagey kind of feel, which I'm not like a big fan of, but this hydrangea is just like achieving those cottagecore goals. Like, it is so beautiful. So yeah, stay tuned to learn a bit about that next week. So besides the dahlias and the hydrangeas, those will be the big main things. I also want to include some cosmos as well. And I also want to see if I can sneak in a couple things of amaranth. I grew amaranth in our garden last year in our previous home, and I had finally had really good success with it. So I want to try to grow it again because the amaranth, the fronds are just so beautiful, especially in fall arrangements. It is gorgeous. So I'm going to grow a couple of my favorite varieties in there as well. I might grow some other plants in there as well, including cornflowers and maybe 1 or 2 sunflowers. I think sunflowers would be really pretty and be super cheerful. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I'm also really excited with this cut flower garden is that during the summer and fall months, we'll have a lot more privacy in through our front window, because our front window is not very far from the sidewalk where people are walking. And I kind of feel like if we don't have the curtains or blinds closed, people are kind of looking into the house. Whereas I think when we have all of these plants growing and dahlias and hydrangeas get huge, they'll be able to block some of the window as well and offer us some more privacy. So it's a double win. We get the privacy and we also get beautiful flowers in our home. So those are the plans for the cut flower garden. This is going to be super low maintenance, really easy garden to set up, and I can't wait to see the results. And the last garden space that we're going to be setting up in our townhouse is a Mediterranean garden. I have been trying to achieve these Mediterranean garden look and feel for so long, and finally I have a designated space to do that. And the space that I'm going to use is actually on our top floor, just off of our bedroom. We have a balcony that looks out over the street, and this is a great area to put different potted plants in. So I'm going to be doing a Mediterranean garden all designed with terracotta pots and sort of Mediterranean plants. So some plants include an olive tree, which I already have. It's an Arbequina olive, so it is beautiful and gorgeous. So that obviously fits really well with the Mediterranean garden. Also things like rosemary and a fig tree. Also brought that over from Victoria to keep. So that'll be in the garden there. And yeah, things like lavender and maybe a couple small little flowers here and there. But largely I want to keep it really sort of like a drought tolerant or like xeriscape almost garden, because we don't have water access up on our balcony. So I do have to manually water it with a watering can, but plants like that with the Mediterranean sort of feel and origins, they don't really need too much water. So Really nice, kind of low maintenance, but still really beautifully effective garden space. So I've been collecting a lot of terracotta pots over the past 4 months, I would say. Basically, since we moved here, I've been collecting terracotta pots, but I want to make sure that they are terracotta, they are frost resistant so they can stay out all year. And I like having unique designs as well. So I've kind of done like a mix and match with different designs and shapes of them and sizes. So I think planting all that up will be really beautiful. And already in this garden space, we have a Japanese maple tree. I'm going to leave this up here because I think this is probably like 200 pounds and it's really difficult to carry all the way down to the main floor to the backyard. So we're going to have a Mediterranean garden with a Japanese maple in it, but I think it's really beautiful. The Japanese maple is kind of a red color, but also kind of variegated with green. So I think it'll add a nice like balance of color up there and a nice texture as well. I also have a Japanese maple currently in our backyard where our kitchen garden is going to go. And I'm thinking I'm going to bring it up there just so I can have a Japanese maple on either side of the patio or the balcony area, and they can balance each other out with the texture. So I think that'll be nice. And I just love Japanese maples. I couldn't get rid of them. I couldn't leave them in our old house. We brought them over and, you know, it doesn't really go with the Mediterranean garden full, like that full feel, but I think it'll still be really beautiful. And up on this balcony is where we're going to be putting the chairs from our garden outdoor set. So taking them out of the backyard and putting them up here will give us a space to sit down and relax and enjoy the garden on summer nights, summer mornings when we're not working. I think it'll be really beautiful. And surprisingly, there is enough space to have these chairs up here along with all of the potted plants. So I think that's going to be really nice and just another relaxing garden space to go to. So I currently have a lot of the Mediterranean style plants, like I was mentioning, the olive, the fig tree, rosemary, lavender, kind of have all those. But next week I'll be telling you about some other plants that I want to add into this sort of potted landscape arrangement for the Mediterranean garden. And I think I'm going to be able to achieve the most Mediterranean feel. So yeah, I'll even maybe show you some of the terracotta pots that I bought as well. So have a little sneak peek on what those looking like, but yeah, I am very excited for this new garden space. So that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learning about all 3 different gardens that we're going to be working on to develop and grow over the 2024 gardening season. I'm very excited and very grateful to be able to have all these spaces to garden, and I'm very grateful that my husband is going along with this. We'll actually see when I post this video and he watches it, but now, David, you know all the plans. But yeah, David's really great, really generally. Once the garden's set up, he lets me do my thing, and I love it. It brings me so much joy and so much happiness. So grateful to have all of these amazing spaces. So make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and stay tuned for next week, where I'll be talking about all the different seeds I'm going to be growing from scratch. As you can see, I have a couple gardening guides here already. So I'm going to be talking about all the different varieties of seeds I'll be starting. And I'll also be giving you a little bit of information more on the varieties of the different flowers and plants that I'll be growing in each of these garden spaces. So make sure you subscribe for that, but also subscribe to see how we transform all these garden spaces. I'll be posting the videos of our garden transformations in each of these areas, and I cannot wait to show you how it's going to turn out. I hope it turns out good, but you will see that in YouTube. So make sure you subscribe for that. So in the meantime, check out the other videos I have here on my channel. If you want to see my old garden, you can head over to my gardening playlist, and all of my most recent videos kind of show all the different things we grew in our garden, how we built the raised garden beds, how we did irrigation in our garden beds as well. So definitely check out that playlist. There's lots of other playlists to explore here on my channel. Here on YouTube, my greatest passion is to share cooking videos as well as gardening videos, home decor, and entertaining. And while all these areas may be different and different videos will come out each week, it all kind of tells a story about living and living seasonally, which I am very passionate about and wanting to share here with you. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like it, comment, share it with your friends and family. That really helps me out. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing more of our gardening journey with you. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.